Hey, you might be curious about taking a sensual bachata class, maybe even sign up for one, and you're about to go there and you want to know what to expect. You would be surprised how many people I've seen show up in a sensual bachata class and they've never even looked at what sensual bachata is. Some people even don't realize that sensual bachata is a specific style of dance. They think the sensual part is just an adjective like easy bachata or happy bachata or super athletic bachata. But sensual bachata is actually like a proper style. And if that's you, I encourage you to get on social media, look up someone like Danielle Desiree or Koki Chudis. There are a lot of examples of like the top instructors having videos out there. And a video is worth like 1,000,000 words. To give you a little bit background of the dance, because I think you should know what you're actually going to learn in the class. Traditional bachata originated in the Dominican Republic. It was danced by the poor people. Society kind of looked down on it as being not very sophisticated. I've heard some people saying bachata has been used to test drive prostitutes to see which one you like. I've heard the same thing said about Argentine tango. I don't necessarily know how true that is or how useful that is, but it's quite colorful to mention. And then bachata moved from the poor neighborhoods to the city and became urban bachata, modern bachata. Salsa-style turn patterns were added to the dance. There was one particular dance teacher who was very influential on that. And then as the music changed, traditional bachata is like, it's very specific on what the music has to be, what the instruments have to be. There are 5 instruments, there are different musical phases. But as time went on, what is bachata became looser. A complete heresy. One singer dared to include English words in a bachata song, and he apparently shocked a lot of people, but a lot more people found out they actually liked bachata and made it accessible and more fun to them, and pretty much a lot of Latin pop music is bachata. They introduced R&B, hip-hop, pop elements. A lot of really popular songs have been remixed or covered to be turned into bachata. So nowadays we still have a rich traditional music, but we also have this like breadth of other musical influences that are like really fun, have something for everyone, like based on our mood we can dance to a lot of different things. In general, the music also became slower, and whenever the music changes, the dance changes too, to adjust to the music and make use of that music. So in Spain, we kind of had like this quantum leap of evolution in bachata. It's almost like it's being reborn, where Koke y Chudis introduced a lot of body waves into it, more kind of like contact improvisation. And we can use those things with like slower music to like really kind of move our bodies around, feel the music all over our body movement, and it's very wonderful. And that's what sensual bachata is. To, just like set the stage for what you're getting into, let's talk a little bit about the nature of sensual bachata. It's a Latin dance, and it shares with most Latin dances that it's an improvised dance. Improvised dance means that the leader comes up with the moves, the choreography in the moment. So It's not that there's something memorized or performed, it's like the leader just comes up with it in the moment based on how he feels, how the partner feels, how the music feels. I don't know, how it just comes out of the moment. And also, Latin dance encourages the dancers to add their own flavor to the dance, add their own styling. Daniele Desiree, when they were teaching here, they made a great example. They showed us the same pattern to different songs completely performed differently, and he encouraged us to kind of don't dance exactly how you were taught, but make it your own, change it up. Every song's different, so you should be changing and molding your moves to that particular song. When we look within the Latin dance genre, you might want to know what it's like compared to salsa. I don't dance a lot of salsa, but my impression of salsa is more lots of high energy spins. I continuously see people spinning in lots of fun patterns. The music's very fast. Sensual bachata, in contrast, gives you a lot more variety. You can have fast songs. Probably a lot of the spins from salsa made their way into bachata. So you can do lots of spins, really fast footwork. But then when you have a slow song, maybe a romantic song, you can really have your body kind of melting around, being fluid, and you cannot, you're not limited by a certain number of moves. Corky explains that sensual bachata is more a system of pressures. Pressure makes you think of like a steam pipe in the street, but he means with pressures like touches, right? If this is my leader, I'm the follower, you have like pressure on the shoulder, maybe something here, so you can do like a hip movement, and then maybe you do like a shoulder roll. So the leader applies pressure to different body parts to create different movements. And once you understand the system of pressures, you can come up with your own movement patterns, and you can also style it according to the music. In music, you have two truths. On one hand, the basic timing, the beat of the music is usually constant. But within this constant timing, you have a lot of play, you have different rhythms. Rhythms are like you're skipping a beat or you're doing something in between beats. And you have also a lot of dynamism. Like imagine a singer is using 4 beats to draw out a vocal. It's like love. So this arc can be, it can like shoot up like love, or it can kind of like come up like love. And so you have all these different dynamism in the sounds, or let's say the bass and the bongo, it can be like a sharp hit, or it can be maybe like a dull hit, right? And so based on how you move your body, it can be kind of explosive, or it can drift up, then down. When you step, you can be step sharp, step soft, or rolling. You have all these textures that the music gives you, and that you can play with. We went a little bit really quickly, deeply into what is the nature of sensual bachata. Let's take a look at what a typical class looks like. I'm not saying this is the best class, but this is what's most commonly available. In a typical class, you'll first have a warm-up. The warm-up, I'm stepping back so you can see my body more. A warm-up is usually like a follows a leader style thing, yes, instructor in front. They're gonna do some basic bachata pattern, like 1, 2, 3, tap, 1, 2, 3, tap, maybe they come a little bit forward, a little bit back, maybe they add like a turn, and maybe then there's like a body wave. And you pretty much watch them and you copy them. Monkey see, monkey do. And it's kind of like a good way to like learn some of the basic steps. Learn steps away from your partner so you can focus on the steps. And then later when you meet your partner, you already have the steps a little bit down, you can focus on your partner. It lets you experience the music a little bit, and it's also relatively low stake where you can screw up as much as you want and nobody really notices. It's usually noticeable if the entire class makes a turn to the left and you make a turn to the right, and maybe you lift the elbow and like you knock out like a whole bunch of people in your path. But otherwise, like if you step left instead of right, if you just stop and look confused, very few people are gonna notice because they're so focused on their own things. That's kind of a low stakes thing. After the warm-up, there's usually a big circle around the instructor pair where you gotta meet up with a partner. Partners are going to be rotated frequently, so it's not a problem if you don't end up with a partner. Actually, in fact, I think you have a little bit of an advantage if you don't end up with a partner, because the first round is usually just doing the basic, and you don't really miss out a lot on just doing the basic if you're past your very first class. And so not having a partner in the first round means you usually rotate to a partner in the second round. The second round is when the teachers actually give you new material. But then anyway, like if you're picky, you don't like that person, you really want that person, you can just relax because you're going to get rotated through. Inside of the circle, what's happening is the instructors will do a demo. They may show you the next 2 or the next 4 count. They might be, okay, let's do like a 4 count basic, and then let's do a turn, and they might give you some hints on how you lead a turn. They might be, the leader wants to have the hand as high as the eye level of the follower, and the hand should be pointing in the direction of the turn. And they're gonna give you maybe like a little bit cues about leading, like they're gonna tell you that every move you want the follower to do should be prep, and they're gonna tell you how to prep a specific move. And this is where we get a little bit to the dark side of dance classes. I know you probably expected to be told it's going to be super easy, it's going to be super fun, and you're going to be an expert walking out of the first class. That actually is kind of like a dark side to it. If you look at this kind of demo and copy thing, it often doesn't work very well. You're going to have the teachers look amazing, and it looks like you're getting an awesome class. But actually a lot of students are going to have a hard time to copy what they're doing. Also the format of only teaching choreographies, there's a few tips thrown in. It's not actually teaching dance, like, for example, musicality. A lot of classes don't use music for the first 50 minutes. In the last 5 minutes, they're going to do the choreography to music, so you only hear music for 5 minutes. A lot of people are going to be extremely stressed out because doing the choreography to the speed of the music is stressful, and so you're not really exposed to much music. They don't really teach you much about musicality, like they don't train your ear how to listen to music. They don't teach you what are the things in the music, like what is a beat hierarchy, what's the phrasing in the song. A lot of these choreography-based classes, they just don't teach you technique, musicality, how to lead, and a lot of these things. And another big problem is the way how they teach is not how we learn dance well. They teach these choreographies very explicitly, like you have to put your hand up, you have to step with your right foot. And being told so explicitly to do things makes us use our logical brain, our prefrontal cortex, to learn movement. And our prefrontal cortex is really good for math, philosophy, complex cognitive problems. But because the short-term memory is very limited, it's very bad at controlling our whole body. You can experience this in dance classes. Usually you have people, they're completely fine walking in the door. But if you instruct them to do a certain step pattern, you tell them, step with your left foot, step with your right foot. Just these two steps can be extremely confusing if you're really thinking about what you're doing, if you use your prefrontal cortex to move. Not only can it be overwhelming to do the steps, but the entire body isn't really, it's not like dancing, they're like stiff and uncoordinated. If you're so much focused on your feet, adding your hands is like often very overwhelming, and that's why dancing with the music is so hard. And so motor science tells us our motor cortex is much better at movement, and if you looked at people, they were able to walk and fine. They're actually a lot more capable, but it's like you want to use a motor cortex. And you use a motor cortex, let's do another presentation another time on the cueing for the motor cortex. It's really interesting, but let's just say in like a super simplified way, it's hard to learn dance with your logical mind, and dance is more something that's felt. And I've noticed a lot of the people that I meet who are really good dancers, they seem to have rejected dance classes kind of early and just decided to figure it out on their own. I've noticed dance teachers, they'll teach in class with this kind of logical instructions where you're really consciously, logically focused on how to move. But sometimes they'll let slip out how they themselves do it, and you notice when they do, the way how they cue themselves actually follows much more what movement research tells us, and it uses more what's called external focus. The really interesting things there was a study done where they had one group of participants and they had them have a teacher break down what the movement they had to learn. Another group of students, they just were shown the movement. And the people that were simply shown the movement picked it up faster. So the actual teaching approach of breaking down the movement and how to do it slowed down the people in that experiment. And it's very much against like what you're taught and everyone tells you, but it's kind of surprising. And if you don't look at what you're told, but you kind of step back a little bit, and you look at that a lot of new people come into dance classes and a lot of them drop out really quickly. There's a constant churn of new people coming out and dropping out. When I talk to just regular friends, a lot of them tell me like, oh yeah, I've tried that bachata thing. It's like a thing, like they tried and they fall out of it. So it seems like obviously there is a lot of frustration and people don't seem to be getting where they want to get at. And I remember when I learned Argentine tango, I had a peer that I was learning with, And at some point, like month after she had started, she told me in the beginning, after every class, she walked home crying every class for a month. And I don't want to scare you off of dance, but I also want to prepare you so that it can be really frustrating. It can be really hard. And it's basically, the road is not meant to be easy. Like if you think about like a quest, it's not supposed to be a McDonald's kind of thing where you get like a nice little box. And you are really going on a little bit of a quest, or a big part of a quest. However, the experience that people have when they dance, that they get from dancing, from music, from connection with other people, is so valuable, so rich, and so special that people go through a lot of suffering and pain to get to it. And that's also something I really want to share, because I think some people, if you've never really engaged with this music, if you've never had that experience of what it feels like when the music and your movement fuses, where it seems like your movement creates the music and it feels like the music is in your body and moving you, it is so tremendously amazing. And it's kind of locked away unless you're somehow really lucky, or maybe you had some like little glimpse of it somewhere in your life randomly. But it really takes developing some of the skills in dancing, like your movement, musicality, ability to hear different things in music. And if you find a teacher who can unlock that for you, it can be like extremely amazing. And even a lot of people who don't have that luck, they just kind of fight through it, and somehow they find their way towards getting to what is that core essence of learning to dance, and things that you have to pick up to get there. To give you an example, one exercise that I find highly effective with complete novices that I've taught is chest isolation. The idea is that their hip stays in place and we're just going to move their chest. So this is a very common thing in Latin dance that you want to learn. This chest-hip opposition. You know, like you move your hip one way, shoulder the other way. And because we don't want to make it very like logical, cognitive, very focused on what do I do like a robot, I usually kind of have my thigh up against the outside of their thigh, and it gives them like a tactile cue about their hips, and they kind of, instead of thinking, I have to freeze my hips, they kind of feel, you know, whenever the hips move, they just feel from the pressure of the hips moving, and they're more feeling how to keep the hips still. So then I connect at the chest, and we just kind of do these little chest side-to-side oscillations together. And there's a lot of learning here involved. There's a lot of learning what's kind of called new muscles in your body. Of course, you know all the muscles in your body, but it feels like you're learning new muscles. Because a lot of times when you go side to side, just figuring out how to stay horizontal is hard. But with a tactile cue of the hands, you're not logically thinking about, oh, I have to move my shoulder down, but you're just kind of feeling your back, putting pressure into the hand, and it's kind of guiding you how to make the movement smoothly. And then I like in my classes to almost continuously have music playing, so that we don't end up in big lecture sessions like we do right now with social media, but we're always doing our experiential movement to feel something to music. And so we start doing this to music. And there's a point, it often happens in the first minute, where people will figure out enough of like, oh, how do I move my chest to becoming smooth, and then I guide some onto the music. And there's this like emotional reaction, you can see it all over their face and their body when, you know, you can be close to the music, you can be a little ahead, a little behind, but if you're like locked right in and you move with the music, there's a huge emotional reaction to it, so it's immensely pleasurable. If you go to a typical beginner bachata class, you might be going for weeks, and people, because I don't really get onto the music, but with this approach that I have, within the first minutes, a lot of people can feel, oh, so this is music. I'm grooving. You know, not just like, sometimes you see people in disco and they're like, oh yeah, I'm on the music, but you know, when you're actually on the music, it's wonderful. And once we get to that stage, you can start playing with rhythms. We can do like 1, 2, 3, hold, 4, 5, 6, hold. And there's usually a huge smile on people's faces, because if you play with a rhythm and you actually get it, and you get it on the music, there's something in the brain that's kind of like driving. It's like boom, 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 boom. When you get the feeling of that, it is so wonderful. And then from there we can develop into other movements. And the classes I teach are different from the typical choreography-based class. My goal, maybe I don't always reach it, but my goal for the first class is not to teach the novice as many basic step patterns as possible, but I want them to get a feeling for how they move within the bachata realm, how they move within the bachata realm to music, to get that connection between the movement and the music. And movement is not just like a zombie stepping. Bachata, like your whole body is engaged, and it's often surprising for people. So that's why I'm kind of glad to have this online experience where I can explain a little bit more. Because in class we don't want to stand around, we want to actually dance and do something. In bachata, a lot of the dance comes from how your body moves with it. It's not in the steps like. This kind of thing is ballroom, bachata is this kind of thing. And so in the first class, my goal is I want to teach people how to learn some of the movement technique in their body and also connect it to the music. I hope that gave you some idea. I hope it set some expectations. I don't want to be negative, to be a downer, or to discourage people, but I think having a lot of people start and quickly quit isn't the best either. I think if you're more realistically prepared and you know what you're getting into, you can more enter it with an attitude that's gonna set you up to actually getting to where you feel success and reward and to keep going. And I hope I also changed your mind from what it is to learn dance, because I think a lot of people walk into a dance class and think it's all only about steps, and then they very quickly get frustrated because they're taught in a way where they use their logical mind to learn movement, and it's kind of very sad to see this frustration. I used to be in this dance studio where I had some time where I had to wait, and I got to observe a lot of private dance lessons, and it was kind of sad. Here's like a very prominent example. There was a couple They evidently were only learning to dance because they wanted to impress their friends for a wedding. They didn't really seem to be into dance, especially he. It was like a checklist item to add to, here are our wedding preparations. And so there was an instructor trying to teach them something basic, and very nice person, very motivated. She was trying to teach the couple like a very simple pattern of something like step left, forward, forward. And like usual, it's really hard for people with use a logical brain to learn like a pattern like that. He got very frustrated. After 20 minutes of repeating this, he just told her teach me how to dance without steps and just let me do my own steps. And you could see the teacher's face. She was like, well, I'm going to do whatever you tell me because I want to be paid for the next lesson. But she's like, oh, what do you want me to teach you? And I gave you a little bit of ideas of what we could teach, but how we can go about those things. But not a lot of people look at motor learning research or anyway, so the teacher was just like, okay, you can do what you want, and so the guy was like, okay, I'll do what I want. And he didn't really know what to do, and it's a little bit of a train wreck, and I think lots of people have those experiences, or I remember one time one really sad student, she got super frustrated, she was trying super hard, and there were things going on just to make it short. She got so frustrated she just walked out of class. Not a lot of people walk out of class, but I think the frustration level can get really high, and the two things I want to kind of tell you is 3 points. There can be a lot of frustration. That a lot of people stick it out means that what you can get out of dance is immensely satisfying, fun, and valuable. And also, there's a lot of research into how to teach dance that actually can explain how to teach better, faster, and more effectively. It's just not shared very much.